In my last video, I went over the Heavy Saber, one of the 3 new weapons released in GMB's latest update. Where's the time gone? Well, if you've watched that video, you may remember this poll I did on my community tab. The Heavy Saber won that poll, and the rifle came in 2nd place. So guess what? It's rifle time, baby! I'll be looking over the rifle's upsides and downsides to see whether or not it's good or bad, and yeah, that's not what's gonna happen here. I'm not going to hide how I feel about this thing. The rifle isn't a very good gun, and it seems like everyone is mostly in agreement with that. Most people agree that the nock gun is better, and—
Well, are you gonna explain why?
Well, yes, of course I am. Just give me a moment.
Your content sucks.
Well, okay, that's actually a fair statement, I guess.
I bet he has a bias against the playstyle the rifle promotes because he's more of a frontliner, therefore he doesn't like it.
Well, I mean, every weapon review video I've ever made is from my perspective, and I come to my conclusions based on how I'd like to play the game, and— wait, isn't that how everyone forms their opinion? Okay, alright. How about I listen to some of your points and then give my opinion on them? How's that sound?
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Alright. Jesus, why do people have to have differing opinions? Right, it seems that some people actually like using the rifle after all. So I've decided to grab a random rifle enjoyer from the crowd.
What's up?
To act as a sort of, how do you say—
Devil's advocate?
Yeah, that's it. Basically, Tristan here
Hello again.
is going to represent the most common arguments made in favor of the rifle, and I'll give my opinion on them. I'll also be giving some tips along the way. I'll also be doing a recap of the situations that works best in afterwards, something this guy desperately needs.
Wait, what?
I'll also be dedicating a section of the video towards the end on how I think the rifle should be buffed, so yeah, stay tuned for that, I guess. But alright, let's first explain what the rifle does. That's right, it's stat time. The rifle is a primary weapon for the infantry class that costs 400 francs. Does 195 damage, has the highest accuracy in the game, 15 penetration, and a 14-second reload time. It's supposed to be decent against tankier enemies, though it lacks the bayonet of the musket or shove of the carbine in favor of having the ability to aim down sights with mouse 3. Additionally, the rifle bypasses the zapper's headshot resistance, meaning you can do this. Oh, and you also move slower while reloading compared to other guns, but like, who gives a sh**? There we go, there's the stats. Now let's get into some points in favor of the rifle.
The rifle's extra accuracy is useful in maps with long sightlines.
Alright, I see a bunch of people saying that the rifle is amazing for getting long-range picks due to its incredible accuracy, and you know, that's kind of a good point. They're all dead. I can use literally any other gun in the game and they're still dead. Jokes aside, there are a few maps where the rifle's extra accuracy does work well, those maps being Copenhagen, where you can snipe the British sailors from this window, and from here during the boat ride, here on La Ferme, where you can snipe the spawning bombers, and here on Berezina if you want to shoot zombies from the bridge for whatever reason. Okay, if we're being honest here, you're only ever going to use the extra accuracy to snipe the British from this window, and even that isn't really that helpful for your team. The long reload time makes it basically impossible to take out a large chunk of the sailors before your team starts progressing too. Well, I guess if you have a fifer, it will make things easier, or if multiple people were using the rifle at the same time. Wait a minute. On a more serious note, a better point that could be made from this is that the rifle is the only gun besides the musket that has insane accuracy. So while the buff may not add anything in particular, it does mean you can snipe from anywhere the musket can. I honestly have no idea what I'm saying.
The rifle is as strong as the nock gun, if not stronger.
Hey, editing too far here. I noticed this point was kind of vague, so let me just explain what I mean by this. Basically, the argument is that the rifle's stats make it better than the nock gun for, like, killing zappers. Anyway, this argument. Oh, this argument. First of all, the nock gun can fire multiple bullets, 7 at max capacity, which takes just under 23 seconds to fully load.
Hold on! Isn't that 9 seconds longer than the rifle's reload?
You're right, however, as you probably already know, you don't have to load every bullet in the nock gun. In fact, you can cancel the reload at any time and be left with however many rounds you loaded in it. If you want to only load 1 round, that'll take you just about 9.5 seconds, which is faster than the musket's reload time, and in 14 seconds, which is the same time as the rifle, you can load 3 bullets. And while yes, the nock gun is less accurate than the rifle, it isn't really to the point where it's useless. Oh yeah, and it does more damage, and each pellet has 11 penetration! However, one upside the rifle does have over the nock gun is its consistency, specifically when dealing with zappers. Mainly because it can one-shot any enemy in the game, including zappers with a headshot no matter what, but also because the nock gun seems to be, how do I say, inconsistent when it comes to killing zappers, specifically when other zombies are in the way. So yeah, I'll have to give the rifle a W when it comes to taking out zappers, I guess.
The gun's upsides make it great for hardcore.
Alright, this is probably the only point that I 100% agree with. However, this point doesn't take into account that I'm a contrarian. First of all, the nock gun exists. And second of all, and I know this is just an opinion, I think the musket works a lot better on hardcore. Yes, the increased damage, pierce, accuracy, and ability to consistently one-shot zappers is all amazing stuff to have, especially on hardcore, but doesn't really make up for the 4-second longer reload time and lack of bayonet, at least in my opinion. A bayonet charge is incredibly powerful on hardcore, and can save your team's life if you're using it to its full effect. Hey, speaking of the bayonet charge,
The heavy saber nullifies the lack of bayonet charge, while also fulfilling the role of the saber.
now listen, I'm gonna be real with y'all for a second. Is the heavy saber good? Yes, absolutely, it's probably the best melee for infantry. Should you pretty much always run it when using something that isn't the musket or pike? Definitely, 100%. Is it comparable to the pike or bayonet charge in terms of sheer damage and destruction? Well, no, not at all. The heavy saber charge is powerful, don't get me wrong, but because it doesn't get the 3 times damage bonus that the pike and bayonet get during a charge, you'll have to hit enemies multiple times to kill them, especially on hardcore mode where every zombie has increased health.
Hey, isn't the ability to use the heavy saber another upside compared to the nock gun? You know, because the Seaman can't use the heavy saber and therefore won't be as effective.
I mean, I guess you're right. Yeah, another W for the rifle, I guess.
The ability to aim down sights makes it much easier to hit your target, especially zappers who don't glow like bombers and igniters.
I mean, I guess it makes it easier to see where you're aiming, with the exception of mobile players. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm looking at here. However, even though the magnification when ADSing does help with sniping zappers, is that really on par with having something like an extra shot, bayonet, or shove ability? I mean, unless you're playing on mobile or just have a really small screen, the ability to ADS doesn't really do much besides, like I said, make it slightly easier to identify zappers from further away. I'll talk more about the iron sights later, specifically how I think they should buff them, but as it stands right now, they don't do all that much for you, and are incredibly underpowered in my opinion.
The penetration makes it great for playing on maps with tight corridors, allowing you to get tons of kills.
Here's a thought. How many times have you gotten 11 kills with a single musket shot? Okay. Now how many times have you gotten 15 kills with a single rifle shot? Even if you have, you've got to admit that it's very rare, even on maps as tightly packed as Tyrolean Village. Even though it's just a flat upside, I struggle to find myself in situations where it actually comes into play. But okay, let's say that around 25% of the time you shoot into a large line of enemies, you get 15 kills. The odds are way lower than that, but for the sake of argument, let's just say that's the case. Now, in that situation, what if you had perhaps equipped, oh, I don't know, the nock gun? Listen, I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but the nock gun is just better than the rifle in like 90% of situations. And even when you're in that 10% of situations where the rifle would be more useful than the nock gun, i.e. sniping enemies and killing zappers, first of all, use the carbine if you want to snipe. Second of all, the nock gun is already fine at killing zappers. And I get the nock gun isn't as reliable as the rifle when it comes to doing this, but I don't care. So like, where were we?
I think that's all the points you picked for me to read out.
What?
I mean, points that I came up with because I'm the #1 rifle fan.
Ah, okay. Well, on to the next part, I guess. Alright, now even though I've made a point in this video that I kinda don't like this thing, I know a lot of you will probably still use the rifle anyway, and that's fine. So allow me to explain / recap some of the situations that the rifle works well in. First of all, make sure you're playing on hardcore. I don't really think I need to explain myself here. I think the higher damage alone is enough to make you understand. Though in my opinion, the best stat the rifle has in hardcore is the ability to one-shot zappers no matter what. I feel like people don't talk enough about how deadly these guys are in hardcore mode. Like, 85 damage is crippling. Because of the insane accuracy making it possible to take them out from any range, you are the most equipped to deal with zappers if you're using the rifle. And I know what you're gonna say.
But 2-4, didn't you spend much of the last section of the video saying why the nock gun is better and you should basically use it over the rifle in most situations?
Well, yes, however, unlike the nock gun, you can use the heavy saber on infantry, allowing you to have a mini bayonet charge, which is something the Seaman lacks. Sorry, nock enjoyers, out of our 99 victories against the rifle fans, the heavy saber ain't one. Like I said earlier, while the heavy saber doesn't completely make up for the loss of the bayonet, it's still your best option if you're using the rifle, and you should be running it 99% of the time. Now obviously the rifle works best on endless, though if you're going to be using it on objective mode, or holdout if you're playing Berezina, there's one tip that'll immediately make you play better. Alright, are you ready? The best way to use the rifle on objective mode is to not use it. Okay, I should probably explain myself. Despite being in your primary slot, you should never really be using your gun as your primary weapon, mainly because reloading makes you vulnerable, it takes a long time, and your melee weapon will do more damage in the time it takes for your gun to reload. Because of this, you should only ever commit to using the rifle during holdout sections. That being said, if you do find the time to reload, you should definitely go for it. Having a quote-unquote get-out-of-jail-free card in case you run into a zapper or bomber that's a bit too close for comfort is always good to have on hand, and can certainly save you from a few stupid deaths. You should also be spending most of your time near Fifers, as standing near them will decrease the reload time from 14 seconds to 11.2 seconds. Yeah, protect your Fifers. Just like how they protect you. Yeah. What else? You can use it to snipe the British on Copenhagen. Oh wait, I already said that? Oh right. The ability to ADS can help you locate zappers and catacombs because of how dark it is on that map. Is that really it? Man, I guess it is, yeah. The problem with the rifle is it's incredibly basic, so there's really not that much to talk about. But believe me, I will. It's also kinda bad, when compared to other weapons at least, so let's fix that. Alright, let's fix the rifle. First of all, that reload speed is a bit too long. Now, don't get me wrong, the rifle needs a longer reload so that it doesn't outperform the musket. However, it's a bit too much in my opinion, and I think most people would agree with that. Now, we could take the easy route and just give it a flat reload speed buff, but I think I have a better idea. Or rather, this commenter does. Basically, the rifle's reload speed while walking will stay the same, however standing still will reduce the reload time by 3 seconds, down to just 11. I really like this idea, and it makes sense in the context of the playstyle that the rifle encourages. Keyword, encourages. You can still use it when you're on the move, however it'll be less reliable than if you were using it the way the weapon is supposed to be, that is, in the backlines. The next thing they need to do is super important, and it's going to make the rifle 10 times better. Are you ready? Make it so it doesn't immediately kick you out of the iron sights the second you shoot. Yeah, fix that please. Okay, this one may sound a bit out there, but I promise it's balanced. Using the iron sights will highlight zappers so you can see them easier. Yeah, I don't feel like this is getting added, but it could be interesting and wouldn't be that game-breaking. You could also just go the less extreme route and just magnify the zoom a bit more, but I digress. I've seen people suggest that the rifle should get a second reload checkpoint right after you hit the cartridge with the hammer. Yeah, I think that's dumb. I've also seen some people say the walk speed while reloading should be buffed, but the slower walk speed makes sense for the playstyle the rifle encourages, so I don't think it should be changed either. And that's about all for my ideas to buff the rifle. I think these two buffs would definitely make the rifle a lot more useful, while also not just making it a better musket. Because, yeah, the musket should always be the best all-around option for infantry, and its unlock should serve more as side grades. I know, hot takes only on this channel, am I right guys? Alright, I think we're done here.
Hey, what about me?
Oh, you? Alright, now that that's dealt with. Well, that's it. Overall, I think the rifle is a weapon with some pretty good upsides that are overshadowed by one huge downside. It's a gun that encourages you to play in the backlines, though it's overshadowed by other options. But hey, it's still better than the pike. So with all this in mind, my final rating for the rifle is 5 out of 10. Yeah, it's mid. If any developers are watching this, please consider buffing the rifle. I know you watch my videos, Greg. Anyways, I think we're about done here. If you liked the video, like it. If you didn't like it, subscribe if you'd be so kind, join my Discord to hang out with my mentally ill fanbase, and this is me, signing out. Goodbye. Man, these yap sessions just keep getting longer and longer, huh?
Too fat too.